As someone who has dry skin and lives in a dry climate, picking the right base products to use during the winter time is super, super key to making sure my whole face of makeup looks nice. I want my skin to look fresh and dewy and glowy, or even if I'm going for more of a matte look, I still don't want my skin to look dry and cakey. So I have curated over the years basically a little collection of products that I think perform super, super well in dry weather for dry skin. I'm gonna go in the order of application here though, so I am gonna start with primers. I have one recommendation here that's currently in my collection, and that's the Catrice Prime and Fine Aqua Fresh Hydro Primer. This is relatively new to my collection, but I've been using it throughout the winter or fall, fall and now into the winter months. And it is really, really nice, especially for days when it has been a while since I've done my morning skincare and then I'm putting my makeup on a little later in the day. This helps just rehydrate my skin really, really nicely before applying makeup. I wouldn't say this has any other sort of benefits, so don't expect it to do any like pore filling or makeup gripping. But if you're just wanting that base layer of hydration and you don't want to like run around finding your moisturizer, this is a really good option. I have one other primer suggestion, but I don't actually have it in my collection right now. But I would highly recommend the Milk Hydro Grip Primer for anyone who has issues with longevity of their makeup, but still wants that hydrating layer. So again, it really does truly add that hydration to my skin. It helps everything go on really smooth and seamlessly, even over dry patches on my skin. And then it also locks my makeup in super, super well. So that is like my holy grail for wintertime special occasion makeup. So things that I really want to last a long time, but I don't want to necessarily use like a drying setting spray, like my Urban Decay All Nighter that I use in the summertime and stuff. That has alcohol in it, so it really dries out your skin. So instead, I like to use my Milk Hydro Grip Primer in scenarios where I need that hydration in the dry weather, but I need the staying power as well. On to foundation. I have basically one top recommendation for foundation for dry skin in the winter, and that is the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Foundation. This is foolproof. If you are someone who has dry skin and you're worried about dry patches on your skin or looking too cracked or cakey throughout the day, this is just perfect. It's perfect. It's a really beautiful medium coverage. It's a relatively natural skin finish. I do have it on like the bottom halves of my cheeks here today. I have something else on the rest of my face. It's a long story, but I have this on the bottom half of my cheeks today, and you can see that it has a really natural skin finish, but it is really hydrating. So it doesn't necessarily give me like a dewy, glowy finish, but it still retains that moisture throughout the day. And I really like it for that because depending on what I pair it with for the rest of my complexion, it can be both dewy and glowy or very matte, or I can wear it on its own and just get that natural look. This is just my holy grail. I have a couple other hydrating foundations in my collection, but they're new to me, so they haven't made it through other winters with me yet. And so I don't want to fully recommend them until I have a chance to test them a little better in this cold, dry weather. But this ColourPop one is flawless. Now I have one suggestion that's sort of a foundation and concealer hybrid. So I'm going to put it here in between my concealer and my foundation recommendations. This is the Merit Beauty, the Perfectionist Complexion Stick. I have it in the shade Dune, and this is just a stick formula, and it works really nicely as a light coverage option for all over the skin and for a concealer under my eyes. So this actually works for both for me. I do have this as my concealer today. You can see it's pretty light coverage. You can still see some of my dark circles through this. That's fine with me for this type of a look. This is also what I have on my forehead. I just didn't need very much coverage there. I wanted more coverage down on the lower half of my face. So I use this complexion stick on my forehead as well. Now, this is extremely hydrating. This is also pretty new to my collection, and I was a little nervous to recommend it because it hasn't gone through the full winter with me yet. but it has gone through a lot of trial and error on my part with trying to find skincare that will be hydrating enough this year. So a couple months ago, I started trying to find something that I'm gonna like for the winter time, because my wintertime moisturizer from Cocoa Kind that I loved, it was their matcha moisturizer, that got discontinued. So I'm kind of on the hunt for something else. And while I've been testing things out, my skin has been so incredibly dry. And I have been using this constantly for just quick touch-ups during Zoom calls and things like that. And it is perfect. It does not cling to any dry patches on my skin. It just glides over everything seamlessly. Like I said, it is pretty light coverage, so it just looks really natural for an everyday look. I highly recommend this. I think it's going to be a top favorite for me all through the winter. And then on to concealers proper. I just have one suggestion here, and yet again, it is the ColourPop Pretty Fresh. This line truly is something special. The tinted moisturizer is a little wishy-washy sometimes for me. I have to be very careful about how I prep my makeup beforehand, or my face beforehand, for that tinted moisturizer. But this foundation and this concealer are both absolutely perfect for people with dry skin. It is a very thin consistency, but it has about medium coverage. And so it gives me the coverage I'm looking for, but because it's so thin and kind of liquidy, it doesn't cling to anything weird under my eyes. It really is my favorite wintertime concealer that I've ever tried. And now on to powder. Like I said, sometimes I do like more of that matte look for the wintertime. I kind of like sometimes having that really perfected, smooth, almost like velvety looking base, particularly for holiday looks. I just love it. And because I like more hydrating base products, they tend to have more of a natural skin finish or a dewy finish. And so I need a powder that can bring down that glow and that dew, but still maintain the hydration. So the thing that I found that works best for me for this particular use is the Bare Minerals Mineral Veil in the hydrating version. Let's see what it's called. Yeah, just the Hydrating Mineral Veil. This is an extremely finely milled powder, so it gives me a really nice airbrushed finish. It works great both under my eyes and across my whole face. I don't need very much of this to get a more mattified look, but even if I have to build it up a little bit to cut through the dewiness and really get a full matte look, it still never, ever looks dry and cakey on my skin. So this is an absolute must-have in my opinion if you want more of a set matte look for the winter time, but you have dry skin. This is truly incredible. I wanted to provide a couple cheek color recommendations here, just because I do really think that that is part of the way your base looks. If you spend all of this time and effort getting your nice hydrating foundation, concealer, and powder down, and then you kind of mess that up with some cheek products that aren't going to be kind to your dry skin, I think it ruins the effect pretty quickly. So I essentially have two suggestions here, although for one of the suggestions I have a few colors to kind of suggest to you. But the first recommendation I have is the Merit Beauty Flush Balm, and I have the shade Cheeky, which is a nice pinky berry sort of shade. It's really beautiful. Now, this one I recently talked about in a speed reviews video I did, and I said I don't know that I fully recommend this to everyone, and that's for a couple reasons. Number one, it's kind of pricey. It's like mid to upper 20s range, and it's not a ton of product in here. This doesn't like twist up or anything. Like, this is what you see is what you get here. So it is a little bit on the pricey end. And the other reason I said I wouldn't recommend it to everyone is because this formula does not dry down all the way on your cheeks. It stays a little bit sticky, a little bit tacky, and I know that that bothers some people quite a bit. So I do really love this color in particular. I absolutely adore this shade for the winter. I also love this because it gives a really nice sheer layer on the cheeks. So for more of a no makeup look in the winter time, this is a perfect option. I layer this over my bare skin all the time, and it just looks stunning. Despite the fact that it doesn't dry down all the way, I have found that it lasts pretty well, and it also never disturbs my base. So it is versatile. It is long lasting to the extent that kind of a cream dewy cheek product can be long lasting. But if that dry down issue is not for you, if the tackiness is going to bother you, then steer clear of that one. And instead, I would recommend that you head over to Salt New York and look at their Cream Tint Pros. So all 4 of these shades here are from Salt New York. I have the shade Light Medium, which is in their bronzer formula. I have the shade Beige, which is their highlighter, and then I have 2 of their lip and cheek formulas. I have the shade Spice and I have the shade Cranberry. I love all of these. They are 3 slightly different formulas. So this kind of bronzer, more complexion product has a little bit more pigment behind it than the other 3 do. The 2 lip and cheeks are relatively sheer, which I love. And the highlighter formula is a little bit, it does have a little bit more pigment backing. I'm actually wearing it today. You can see it. It's just really beautiful and reflective, but it's definitely not like a clear balm or anything. It has a bit of that color behind it. These are some of the best cheek products I've ever used in my life, and particularly in the wintertime, these are my holy grail. I have never found another cheek product, cream or powder, that sits as well on top of my dry skin as these do. They do not dry down to like a powder finish by any means, but they dry down much, much more than that Merit Beauty cheek product that I just talked about, that blush. These dry down much more than that. They're a little bit longer wearing as well, and they're much more affordable. They're $16 full price per shade, but they frequently run sales, and they have a bundling tool on their website as well where you can kind of pick a little case or just pick the creams and you get a big discount. So they have really affordable options and ways that you can get these for a lower price. They have a much wider shade range than the Merit as well. So I do generally prefer these Salt New York creams over the Merit Beauty. But if you want that true like juicy, glowy, dewy cheek, the Merit is for you if you don't mind that it doesn't dry down. If you want something that's a little longer lasting and just as kind of versatile and useful, I prefer the Salt New York. Just as a general rule for me, they're just a little bit more user-friendly and my hair does not stick to them all day. All right, so there you have it. Those are my top complexion products, base products for my really dry skin in the winter time. I hope this was helpful for you. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.